Hi guys, it's Mikefield here. In this video I'd like to talk to you about some basics of Darkest Dungeon 2. So I'll give you 5 tips that will really allow you to improve your early play. DD2 is way more difficult than DD1 early on, so actually getting a decent head start and understanding those kind of simple principles really will go a long way for you. So guys, please remember, if you do enjoy the video, like and subscribe, let me know what you think. And also streaming on Twitch, the address is visible on the screen. You can go to that via the link in the description as well. The video has been divided into sub-chapters for your convenience. So you can actually go to the bar below to the timeline and see what exactly each tip is and whether you want to follow it or not. Enjoy! Okay, so the first tip is oddly specific, but I think it's the most important one. That's why I'm putting it first. Please consider leveling your poison dart. So very early on into the game, you get into the inn for the first time. You get 1 mastery point, so this thing over here. You can actually use it to level one of your character's abilities by 1 level. And there are a lot of options, but I think Graverobber is kind of underwhelming, honestly, without this ability being leveled up. Because her damage is basically 50% of what she can do if you have that poison dart equipped. Obviously, this will not work that great in certain areas that do not, work well with blight damage, right? There are lots of enemies in the game that are resistant to blight. But it is about just choosing the correct route and picking those places, such as the sprawl, where the resistance to blight itself is relatively low overall. So I would recommend that you guys do this. I would recommend that you guys actually take that dart as your first skill, because it is probably just going to change the way you play the game entirely. The DOT becomes really efficient. She also does a lot of damage with this ability now because the crit is higher. The damage is basically like almost twice as much as it was level 1. So overall, she just becomes way more efficient. And yeah, it's game changing, honestly. This is something that I did not do first. I was going for Duelist Advance on my Highwayman, and it was not working too well. This one though is excellent, so please consider doing this. And second tip is not something I like because honestly Hellion sucks. So I would say avoid taking the Hellion unless you're really willing to experiment. She is extremely underwhelming, her scaling is poor, her abilities don't have damage. If you actually level her skills up, they don't do that much good stuff either. So overall, I really think that she is not worth it at this point. Maybe she'll receive some buffs, but she comes with this kind of weird past. Obviously, she's a berserker, right? But the fact is that if she is below 50%, she gains 25% more damage. If she's below 25% HP, she also gains additional 25% on top of the previous 25. So she can get up to 50% bonus. The problem with that is, though, that she's extremely vulnerable to just getting killed. So unless you're willing to stack a lot of HP on her, she's going to be super squishy if you are willing to capitalize on the passive. If you are not, though, she's just really low. Like, her values are just not satisfying. She's not going to accomplish much for your party. And as I said, ability scaling, not her strongest suit either. So early on, especially when you don't have all the abilities of hers unlocked, I would probably avoid taking her altogether because she's just very underwhelming. And unless you have no other choice, like one of your characters dies, like in my case here, I would really avoid taking her along. Okay, that's tip number 2 done. Okay, tip number 3, guys, is for you to take the right consumables. So in Darkest Dungeon 2, you get a category called combat items. You can equip them and use them in battle. So you have to equip them before the fight starts in the character sheet. And then you can actually use them to gain a little bit of an advantage in battle. These items do not consume an action, so if you use them, you can still kind of use any other ability you might be willing to use during your character's turn, though you are limited to using 1 per turn overall. Now, picking up the right ones is really important because they actually provide a large bonuses, and I will tell you about my 3 favorite ones. Okay, so first of all, Healing Salve. Healing Salve is really efficient. It gives you 33% HP heal, and again, it doesn't take a turn, so you can just be using those all the time if you want to heal your characters. Now, it is really cheap as well. I think it costs like 6 gold, and it really is very efficient. So if you have any possibilities to purchase Healing Salves and equip at least 1 character of them permanently, it is going to pay huge dividends. Second item is Laudanum, which is basically a stress healing item. In DD2, stress is, I think, way more annoying because runs here are longer, and generally speaking, you don't get to get rid of all the stress before the runs, and stress accumulates very fast. And those Act outs in DD2 are also way more painful because DD2 is way more of a battle of attrition. And this means that honestly, just being able to sustain both stress and HP with external means, such as consumables, is just going to really help you along the way. Another really good item, I think, is the spiked ball and also the incendiary cocktail. All those actual like damage over time items are going to give you a good advantage in fights, actually, because they provide you with a lot of DOT that you would have not otherwise had. That's it for tip 3. Okay, tip number 4 is actually related to the torch. The torch mechanic has been changed significantly in Darkest Dungeon 2. Now it is attached to your stagecoach that you ride through the zones or biomes, and as you go through them, the torch slowly depletes. Now the problem is that in DD1 you are able to purchase consumables to refill the torch on the go. And here this is not really the case. There are basically 2 sources that will allow you to refill the torch. So first of all, you can actually kind of encounter a group of people and they will give you the torch back. And second of all, so that's just kind of a random encounter along the way. And the second possibility is actually to enter an inn. And I would like you actually to take every single opportunity to refill the torch. So if you are actually traveling through the biome and you encounter crossroads and you have the possibility to, there's going to be a note, replenish the torch or replenish the light, you really should prioritize that. Because if you deplete the torch to 0, you're going to encounter a group of elite enemies that are ridiculously difficult to kill. Think, the level of collector perhaps, right? So early on, like if your party is not fully developed anyway, those cultists are going to provide a significant challenge to your party. And since healing along the way is not as easy in DD1 either, this is going to be kind of permanent damage that you'll probably have to be dealing with or working against for the remainder of your entire run. So I would really advise you to keep the torch up as much as possible, okay? So just try not to deplete it, because if you do, you're really going to get in trouble, because that basically jeopardizes the entire run of yours. The final tip is that if you somehow manage to reach inn number 2 or inn number 3, you should prioritize leveling your damage over time skills and Duelist advance of your highwayman, if you are using him, of course. The DOTs are really effective in DD2 because the fights are way longer. It actually means that, those kind of damage over time effects are way better than the direct damage you might be delivering. Also, the base values on those attacks are very high. So let's have a look at the Hellion. So the leveled if it bleeds is 3 to 5 damage, which is relatively big for DD2. Then again you have 2 to 5 on Poison Dart, and you have 3 to 4 on Noxious Blast. So those abilities not only provide you with decent baseline damage, they also have like very, very significant effect on the battlefield. Because those dots are going to actually work extremely well. Obviously you have to be careful as to where you go, because some monsters will be resistant to blight or to bleed, but generally speaking, actually using the DOTs and capitalizing on the fact that they are very strong is a very, very good idea overall. I think I would just advise you guys to always invest in the DOTs first, because they're just going to give you a lot of advantages moving into those fights. So yeah, that's it, guys. If you did enjoy the video, please consider actually dropping a follow on Twitch, subscribing to me on YouTube, and liking this video, right? This will help me develop. Also, let me know in the comments how you feel about this. And the final thing is, you can also become members of my channel. It is going to cost you $2.50 per month, so not too much. And you can support me, let me grow, and let me develop the content that you guys appreciate and enjoy. Thank you for watching once again, and see you in the next video.